So I completely kind of forgot to talk about Evan Thompson's book as much as I wanted to in that last video, so I'm going to make a part two and start out by mentioning that Evan Thompson, instead of following the mind-body dilemma as the, I guess, mainstream of cognitive science or consciousness studies is pursuing, Evan Thompson wants to deal instead with what he calls the body-body problem, because the mind-body problem is essentially premised on this thought experiment, the zombie experiment, which is that basically I can conceive of an exact physical replica of myself, for instance, that wasn't conscious, but that exhibited every physical behavior as if it were. Thompson, in analyzing this thought experiment, says that it is not really that imaginable, actually, to conceive of an exact physical replica of yourself that did not have any experience of itself, of sentience. Because for Thompson, life is itself a cognitive activity. A single cell is sentient. So a whole organism, such as ourselves, feels throughout its body, and you can't easily separate its conscious experience from its feeling of its body, from its movement in the world as its body. And so to even begin to conceptualize consciousness in terms of this mind-body dualism is not really to frame a hard problem, but actually an impossible problem, trying to separate two categories that can't really be separated. And, even Plato, who's supposed to be the perennial dualist, he talked about the soul, the psyche, as though it were somehow intimately intermingled with the body, and Aristotle as well saw the intellect as part of the body, and the soul and the body is two halves of the same fundamental substance or identity. So we're dealing with the body-body problem, and not the mind-body problem. And the body-body problem is basically this: how does a living body also equal a lived body? In other words, how does my phenomenal experience right now also exist as a living physical body? So it's not such a difficult problem, first of all. It's certainly a paradoxical and mysterious problem, but we can sort of feel our way around it and understand it, if not in the empirical way that we're used to, in the easily measurable and mathematically amenable way that empirical science is used to. But still, what do we know with more intimacy than our own experience? If we're trying to understand our body or life, it seems like we could understand it through process, as being it, actually, and returning to our experience. Whereas when you try to solve a problem, like the hard problem, like how matter, this completely exterior mechanical stuff, become mind, this immaterial experiential experiential feeling. How do you get an inside like that from an outside, like matter? It's an impossible problem. But when you see that matter always had a very minimal inside, and that really conceiving of matter as inorganic is difficult. We do it conceptually, but really the earth that we live on, and in fact the body through which we experience what we call the inorganic world, we're fundamentally immersed in life, in the process of living. So living matter is really more predominant in our general experience than the scientific or usually, the physicalist picture of nature as inorganic matter. We know inorganic matter only through our own living bodies, and as I said, on Earth we are surrounded by other living bodies. The Earth itself is being conceptualized as a body within science now, because it's the most accurate way. As it's in other words, instead of geology and climatology all these separate sciences to understand the Earth as some kind of giant machine, we now need one system theory that encompasses all of these fields into a single self-organizing, autonomous system. A system that responds to stimuli as if it were alive. In other words, the sun has been heating up for the last few billion years. It's 25% hotter today than it was 4 billion years ago, around the time life began. So Earth has had to accommodate for that increase in the amount of energy from the sun. It's done that by emitting more greenhouse gases it's done that by emitting less greenhouse gases so that more heat can escape our atmosphere, and the planet can remain at a cooler temperature than it otherwise would. So the Earth is alive. Because, again, when we're conceiving of consciousness as something inherent to a living system, and a living system as something which responds to stimuli intelligently, the Earth seems to fit those stipulations. So it's the body-body problem. How does my lived experience relate to this physical living body? One way we can start to conceive of our experience of our body is to break it into two different kinds of bodily experience. The body schema and the body image. The body schema is our unconscious sensory motor pre-reflexive perception of the world. It's mostly unconscious, and it's just the way we act intentionally in the world. I see a glass of water and I pick it up because I'm thirsty. I do that without having to think about the various muscles to move in my arm to do it. I just do it. So I act in the world intentionally without having to reflect upon it. That's what the body schema allows me to do. It is my body as used, as done. The body image, on the other hand, is when I view my own body as an object in the world. So, when you look at yourself in the mirror, for instance, or when you, are trying to perfect your golf swing and you're, looking at the way your arms are bending and what